Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I invite all of you, everyone, to gently close your eyes or have a soft gaze away from your computer or devices. I invite all of you to come into a place of centering. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. We'll do this a couple of times more. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Just make ourselves to sit comfortably wherever we are. If we have tied our hands, untie them. Feel the floor with the feet. And allow yourself to become fully present with yourself and with each other. Now we are going to read a poem.
Every word of every tongue is love telling a story to her own ears.
Every thought in every mind, love whispers a secret to her own self.
Every vision in every eye, she shows her beauty to her own sight.
Every smile on every face, she reveals her own joy for herself to enjoy.
Love courses through everything. Nay, love is everything.
How can anyone say there is no love when nothing but love exists?
All that you see has appeared because of love. All shines from love. All pulses with love. All flows from love. Nay, once again, all is love. Now we invite you to gently open your eyes. Just take a moment to ground the screen at everyone here. And we have a candle that Ansar and I together across the world, between Canada and India and South Africa and wherever you are, we're lighting this candle for the peace and reconciliation, the harmony amongst all beings, people of all genders, and all sentient beings around the earth, and Mother Earth herself. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
So Welcome, everyone. My name is William Keepin. Just a very few words about the background of this work. It began 30 years ago this year, and I'm an environmental scientist by training, and I was working on climate change issues, research on those issues, and there was quite a bit of sexual harassment taking place within the environmental community, very similar to what we've seen revealed from the MeToo movement in the last few years. And so a group of us came together and began to work on these issues within our own professional network, never expecting it would go beyond the boundaries of that. And the early programs, we called them gender and ecology. So we were really looking at the healing work between the gender issue and the ecological connection and relationship with the earth. And so we began developing that. And then in the mid-90s, Desmond Tutu and the truth and reconciliation process was emerging in South Africa. And we were very inspired by that. And we realized we need something similar for gender reconciliation. We need a similar kind of profound healing process based on deep truth telling. And so we renamed our project Gender Reconciliation. Before that, it was Gender and Ecology, and the byline was, are there parallels between exploitation of the earth and exploitation of the feminine? And so, but after Desmond Tutu started doing his work, we renamed it Gender Reconciliation. And then the work just grew from there. Slowly, and we started getting invitations from other outside organizations unrelated to the environmental movement. And in 2001, we got invited to India for the first time, and in 2003 to South Africa. And the work has steadily grown from there. And in a minute, we'll have a very short video showing you a bit about the work. But the principles of truth and reconciliation were foundational. And in 2013, we were actually invited by the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation to enter into a partnership with them. And so we began a relationship with the Tutu family. And that's been a real blessing for our work. So I just invite Des, since you're from South Africa, maybe to say a few words, Des, about the connection to the truth and reconciliation work in South Africa and our work.
Thank you, Will. Hello, everyone. So the central purpose of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa was to promote reconciliation and forgiveness coming out of the history of apartheid. And an author in a book called Building Peace, Sustainable Reconciliation in Divided Societies, he writes about reconciliation, and he says that it represents a place, a point of encounter that promotes open expression of the painful past on the one hand, and on the other, that it represents the search for the articulation of a long-term and interdependent future on the other hand. That reconciliation is a place where concerns about the past are validated and let go in the favor of renewed relationships and moving forward. And reconciliation also recognizes the need to redress the wrongs that were done, and at the same time promotes this idea of a common and connected future moving forward. So the GERI work, like Will had said, has been and is inspired by the spiritual principles of reconciliation and forgiveness, as well as the African philosophy and practice of Ubuntu. It is a quality that includes the virtues of compassion and humanity, and it expresses the need for understanding and not vengeance. Ubuntu, togetherness and not victimization. In essence, Ubuntu means I am because you are. And so the unique time-tested methodology used in the GERI work is underpinned by foundational principles, And the purpose is that it sets the space and it creates that place of coming together, that point of connection, that point of encounter, where people of all genders can come together, and in a safe enough space, they can openly and honestly speak their truth of their gendered experiences. And the core purpose and the method of the GERI work is illustrated also in the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he says that injustice and corruption will never be transformed by keeping them hidden, but only by bringing them into the light and confronting them with the power of love. And so in this space of sharing and truth-telling, with no analyzing, with no questioning or challenge or judgment or evaluation even of what is being shared, those that are gathering can make joint discoveries and allow new awarenesses to begin to surface about themselves as well as about those who are gathered with them, about each other. And so in the GERI process, this deeply held need that we have for the truth of our experiences to be heard and to be witnessed is met with love and kindness and compassion. And as these new revelations begin to emerge within us, and we witness that in each other, each person can then begin to embrace and lean into and take what they need for their healing and their learning and their growth and their expansion, and also begin to be invited into taking responsibility as well for the consequences of whatever is jointly discovered and experienced. And with the way that the world is right now, societies everywhere needs these points of encounters in safe forums and in community to allow the healing and the reconciliation to unfold naturally and to grow into and towards what we in the GERI community call beloved community. That place where we can come together and in renewed relationship, transforming towards that common and connected future. And so Cynthia is going to share a little bit about how the work has grown and expanded over the last 30 years.
Well, I will just share, thank you, Des. I'll just share that we started organically, just Will did with a few other people in the environmental community in the United States. And they were just addressing a need in the community to address what was happening in the community of the older men coming on to or hitting on the younger women. And they formed a workshop to try to address these needs. And through that process of just refining that process and really making it more and more accessible and safe for everyone, the work grew. And they started getting invitations by therapists and pastors and religious leaders and activists, educators all around the, throughout the United States and then eventually around the world. We have now grown and we've introduced the work in 18 countries, and we have 220 trained facilitators of this work. So we've become a training organization. And so I won't say much more about that. I think we should go into the video clip and you'll get a sense of the work through some of the people in this clip that you'll see. And then after that, we're going to move into some activities and invite you into having an experience of the whole process. So Garrett, can you start the video for us?
I've never heard of a gender reconciliation workshop. I didn't know what to expect in the first place. The work itself is so powerful, and that was enough to just pull you in and let you fully participate.
One man said at the end of this work, "I'm glad to have seen women speaking from their heart about the way they've been violated, because I myself as a man have done many of these things, and today I'm aware of the pain that I have caused." Another woman said, "I used to hate every man, But now, as a result of this work, I'm a new person, and I've learned that not all men are the same, and I respect men.
She was narrating this story. Actually, my tears came out. My tears came out, and that is the reason that triggered my spirit to feel that I need to apologize.
The miracle of all that was when one of the gentlemen stood up and went to the center and knelt down. Even I feel emotional when I talk about it. You know about our culture, and you know how men don't give any space. And this gentleman went and knelt down and said, I want to apologize on behalf of your uncles. And then the girl just started weeping. And she said, at that moment, when that man knelt down and apologized, she forgave him. A hatred that she had carried for so long. And she was just cleansed. That was powerful. That was awesome to see. I mean, it works. It really works. It really changes people's lives.
So here we come to collaborate on a partnership that has already shown very good results. These two people here, how many years now? 21, so 8, have been working on this whole question of gender reconciliation.
The work of racial reconciliation is never going to be complete without the work of gender reconciliation.
Compartir ese trabajo con las personas que en Colombia.
What is different about this work from any other gender work that is mostly happening in different institutions? The difference about this work is that we work with both men and women, and it's about healing, not blaming.
When we did that little ritual, because I was positive and energized, and when it happened and seeing how genuine it was, and I sat there and I imagined that have other women experienced getting a gift and receiving it as genuinely as they did from a man before. No hidden agendas, I'm just doing this for you.
Noble woman, the richness and the big heart you have.
I honor your courage. I honor your beauty of spirit. We welcome you into the company of men.
On behalf of all men, we wish to extend and offer a deep apology for what you've had to go through in your lives.
Thank you. That gives you a little taste of some of the people who have participated in the work. We're going to take just a few minutes to introduce ourselves as a facilitation team. My name again is Cynthia Bricks, and I'm co-founder, co-director of this work. Part of my story of coming into the work is I was finishing my degree in wellness, health and wellness, and I got a job with a corporation. And within 5 months of working with this corporation, the chairman of the board, co-founder of the organization, the company, sexually propositioned me. During dinner, a business dinner, he said, "Cynthia, I've enjoyed getting to know you, and now it's time to take our relationship to a deeper, more intimate sexual level." I said no, And he didn't hear my no. He continued to pressure me until I was eventually pushed out of the corporation, even though I spoke truth to it with as much compassion and awareness as I could. They pushed me out. When I left or got pushed out of that job, I didn't trust men. I didn't like men. I didn't want to be around men. And it took a long time for me to heal. A lot of therapy, coming into a place of eventually, after a few years, coming into this work and then coming into a place of deeper understanding, of deeper compassion for what was going on, in a sense, within the system that we live, that we're all oppressed by. So that's just a little bit of my story of how I landed here. And I've been in the work for over 20 years now. So I welcome you again, and I'll pass the heart to someone else. I don't know who's next. Is it you, Ansar? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. My name is Ansar. I'm from Bangalore, India. I'm associated with this work from 2014, and I actually work with young people, teachers, and also parents in the community from past 16 years. For me, coming here is something unique and special about this work. My whole life was about like talking to someone about what I have been through in my past, in my childhood, which never expressed before. Until 2014 was something that I was waiting for something to speak out. And Will and Cynthia came to India. We had this work in Bangalore, and then I found myself that, yeah, this is the right place to speak. Who am I and what I have been through, how the sexual harassment happened on me. And that's the first time when I expressed it. And then I thought this work has to continue, it should not stop. From there, I'm taking this up, and wherever is possible, bringing this work and bringing awareness and helping even other young people and community leaders. Yeah, this is me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ansar and Cynthia. So I'm Des English, and I am in Cape Town in South Africa. And I am a facilitator and trainer in the GERI work and supporting the work of a non-profit organization called Gender Works, affiliated to GERI Global. And I grew up with 4 brothers, 3 older than what I am and 1 10 years younger, and with an alcoholic and abusive father. So for the first 15 years of my life, witnessing very regularly domestic violence, witnessing my father in his drunken state, often beating up my mother, and having a very violent way with which he punished us as children. And this impacted me as a young girl. And I grew up in fear. I grew up in fear of men, because I witnessed my father being the blueprint of what men are. And as I was growing up, I had this fear of, is this what my life is going to be like when I get married? Is this what my husband would do to me? Is this what my husband would do to my children as well? And it had such a profound impact on relationships that I struggled with as a young woman. And not feeling confident and strong enough to speak up and speak out. And that took many, many years of work to work through that. And I attended my very first GERI workshop in 2014, where for the very first time, and so growing up in this fear, I had an intense dislike for men, particularly, well, I can say I had a hatred towards men, and particularly men who drink alcohol. And So when I stepped into this workshop for the first time and experienced the safety, and for the first time hearing other women sharing their stories and their experiences, and then hearing men share their stories and their experiences. And that was the first time that I felt a softening in my being and in my heart, because I could see the pain that men also had experienced. And that was the start of my deep healing journey. And I decided that I needed to stay in this work. And so I speak to anyone and everyone who has time and willing to listen through this work and invite them into it. So I'm very happy to be with all of you and share with you more about the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Desireé. And I've already introduced myself a little bit, but just to add a more personal element, when I was very young, I knew in my heart, I experienced something very profound and actually sacred in relationship to the feminine that I perceived as a young boy. And then I entered into some very difficult experiences. There was a pattern of abuse that set in with my mother that was very devastating to me as a young boy from age about 4 to 12. And that had a huge impact on me. And then the other thing was the socialization as a man, which I found just really brutal, both the sort of the violence and also the relationship to sexuality and the desacralization of something. I didn't know what it was supposed to be, but I knew what I was being taught I didn't like. I knew that it was degrading, and yet there was no other teaching on offer. So I got the Playboys and the pornography initiation with no help from any of the adults in my life about what this is all about. And so I became an unconscious young man, basically playing out these conditionings that had happened. And so by the time I was 23, I replicated some of the dysfunction that I had with my mother in my early relationships. So I was divorced. I was married young at 20 and divorced by 23 and absolutely devastated. And then began a long journey of healing that continued into my late 20s and 30s, during which time I really worked through a deep level of transformation of these issues. And my whole psychosexual conditioning as a man. And so by the time I was in my early to mid 40s and working through a lot of my own trauma, I then began working with healing these issues in community settings. And that is how the work got going. So thank you very much. It's a joy to be here and to welcome all of you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Des. Thank you, Ansar. So we're going to move into a few activities, and you'll have a time and an opportunity to share a little bit of whatever feels right to you. As we do this, we just want you to know that everything's an invitation, so you can enter into these activities at the level that feels right to you. And they're shortened versions of our much longer program that we're doing today. Will and I are going to share 2 community agreements, ethical agreements. We have a whole list of community agreements when we go through the program together, but this gives us an opportunity to really remember how to show up, how we show up for each other here. And the first one is confidentiality, that I think all of us or most of us are familiar with. Whatever is shared here in this session stays here. So if that may be in this form with all of us together, or it may be in the form when you're in a pair or a small group. So if you hear someone's story there, that is a story that stays right there in that group and doesn't get told further here in this group or outside of this group. We want you to share about the work. So when you do share about your own story and your own experience, but not someone else's story. Will?
And the second principle, which is foundational to this work, is that we come to this work with an intention for healing and safe space. Safe space meaning that we help to create, maintain, and hold a space that's safe for each participant, both psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And that we come with an intention to have the process be a healing experience for everyone. So those are what we ask of everyone in coming into this, that you would basically agree to these two agreements of confidentiality and also holding and creating a safe space and healing intention. And maybe to get everyone's agreement, we might just ask that you raise your hand just to sort of give us a showing.
And if you have your camera off, maybe you can put it on, or maybe you can put the little hand emoji or a heart next to your name or whatever. That's great, Ravi. Thank you. And we have a couple others there. Priyanka and Esperade. I think I'm saying the name right.
Esperande.
Esperade. Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka. When we get into the small groups, just so you know, right now we're recording this session, but we will stop the recording for these activities so that it remains confidential. Thank you. There's the hand raised from everyone. So we're all good.